Welcome, gentlemen. We are live. Take it away, Mac.
Hey folks, 2022. Welcome to Alberta Landlord Shoptalk. I am one of your hosts, MacKenzie Wilson. Alongside us in the Brady Bunch is Chris Noble. Below me is Bill Pico, and one of our regular sponsors and eviction experts, Don with Edmonton Eviction Services. Today's show is going to be a bit different. I found this little gem called the annual Rtdrs annual report. It's an inaugural report, and because I'm so cool and I drool over something like this, we're gonna talk about it tonight. Because we are that cool. A bunch of landlords streaming on StreamYard on a Wednesday, so we'll talk about that tonight. Some current events, and let's help out and answer some questions. If any of you landlords are in a bit of a bind right now, you've got the group wisdom here. Let's help each other out and get someone unstuck. So, Chris, take her off.
Take it away. Wow, here we are.
Perfect.
Who's put the TV on in the background? Don, turn your TV off.
We'll mute Don first. It's done.
Yeah, it's done.
So, Don, you're muted. You've got your talk show in the background. All good, though. Folks, welcome. 2021. Gentlemen, happy
Thanks
New
for coming
Year's.
out, Don. See you later, bud.
He'll be right back.
He's got his wheelchair. He's pushed his wheelchair across the floor there.
Hey, take it easy. So, Chris and Bill, how was your guys' Christmas? How was the break? Did you guys do anything fun?
Fun.
No.
We opened gifts.
No?
Bill didn't get any presents.
I didn't get anything from Chris. I'm so disappointed this year.
Oh, shoot. Well, I've got a few things I want to talk about. Did you guys see my utility article? I know, Bill, you commented on it. You threw some caveats in there, some important ones. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to share it right now because I'm that cool. I went through and I broke down my entire set of utilities. And I saw across all three properties increases, because why would there not be increases? Primary residence is property number 1. I live in this one, so it's probably why it's normal. And then property 2 is a bungalow. Went up 15%. Ugh. Property 3 is a half duplex. It's small, 970 square feet with a half shared wall. Built in 1970. This one's is renovated but built in the 1950s. So yeah, if you guys want to check it out, head over to albertalandlordcommunity.ca. I've got all my information there. Compare and contrast. I have the property stats and the number of people living in the property and the bedrooms and stuff. So kind of interesting stuff. And I also discovered that Calgary is offering a credit rebate for anyone who wants to replace a roof this year. They'll give you $3,000 back.
Will they do it me in Pinoca?
Yeah, and Chris says nobody cares because he's in Pinoca. I don't know. You can write them a letter. Maybe ask Jody. She wanted to sponsor, and I don't want to get political, but I'm going to say this. She wanted to give $100,000 of taxpayer money to a lawsuit case up in Montreal, and I can't or in Quebec. I can't remember the reason for it, but it was like, to each their own, but use your own money, not ours.
Yeah,
Okay,
to fight one of the discriminating laws they have out in Quebec.
Totally. Yeah.
Which is something maybe the federal government should be doing, not our local tax money.
Yeah,
We already send them a few million in
Alberta.
We send them a few million in transfer payments in us. Why not give them some more? Oh, we won't open that can of worms, will we?
No, we're good. This is the non-political. We're non-partisan here. So,
Sure we are.
Hey, wait a minute. Christine is our diehard. She's here. She's firing questions at us. Let's just play with one.
Not only is she here, she was here early.
Yeah, she was in early.
Actually, I think she was here before two of our guest speakers.
Yes, she was.
Anyways. Oh, good. And that includes me.
My partner and I are ready to file for the first time for an eviction for non-payment using COVID as an excuse. Oh, that's getting old. We see posts where she is out drinking, getting married, etc., on Facebook. Don, over to you. How are we resolving this, and what are some tips for you for Christine?
Well, let's go back to Christine. Christine, do you have any questions for us? I'm sure you're typing fiercely on your phone or your computer there. Queue up some questions first. We'll come back to this because I am quite curious about this. COVID, interesting. So basically, it's falling for non-payment of rent. So,
yeah, isn't that what I said?
Yep, you did. I'm a little bit slow to the game. Hey, we're all here.
Unmute Don.
Oh yeah,
okay,
poor
Matt,
Don.
I'll read slower.
Am I on?
For you next time.
Yeah, Don, you're here, buddy. Sorry. Like, Don's just a nice guy. He's just politely sitting there, not saying a thing.
Not making any hand gestures.
Don,
Anyway,
Christine some pointers.
Yeah, as far as that scenario goes, certainly if they didn't pay the rent, then that's a reason. Section 21A of the RTA says you got to pay the rent when due. If they don't do it, then that's a major item. The fact that they have pictures on Facebook of getting married and stuff like that is actually irrelevant. The judge, Rtdrs wouldn't consider that as evidence.
Yeah, unless you somehow tie it into her being captive by COVID and having to stay home, and then you find social media pictures you can validate for that same time period she's out and about. But it's pretty
right. She's probably telling Christine here, I can't pay that rent because of COVID. I can't work, and then she's got pictures out in the public yet.
Yeah, well, it doesn't. It wouldn't matter that she was out in public. The point is that she didn't pay the rent, and that's period. That's whether it was COVID or her aunt died or the sky fell down. It doesn't matter. If she didn't pay the rent, then she has to either make restitution or move on, and hopefully make restitution later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just jump in really quick? The only catch-22, and I think Christine just said it, this is the third time she's had COVID. If it's just a matter of the one time with her not paying and she catches up, it might just get thrown out right away. So
all right, so let's ask a question. Christine, what's the track record here? Is this a one-time late or is this probably a couple of months of you documenting evidences? As our esteemed Bill Beacle would always suggest, you need a good list of evidence to get your thing. Okay, she goes, and she can't
use
sue or send e-transfers because she is going through a divorce. I call BS. Yeah, she could still pay though. Write you a check, go get the cash out of a bank and make it work, right? There's e-transfer is just one method of payment. So
yeah, that wouldn't mean anything in a divorce.
Yeah. So Christine, I'm just going to add in here before we move on is first off, make sure you have your statement of account, summary of your account that you've got that all laid out and it's been served upon her so that the hearing officer and you and her can see it. And if you are going to use pictures or attempt to or build a case with those, like Don says, it may not really have a big effect, but certainly I'm of a slightly different opinion. If you can build a case and it
shows character,
maybe shows some kind of character or shows lies or something, you have to make sure if you're using those pictures that you have served those pictures upon her, because you can't put that evidence in now because you haven't served it on her. Correct, Don?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, everybody has to have everything. And those other excuses that she's just putting in there that, she's quarantined and she can't get to the bank. Well, if she's on a computer, she can move money anytime, anywhere from the bank. That's no excuse. Nobody would accept that as an excuse. none of the judges that I know of anyway, unless you got them on a really good day.
I learned a new term for these fine folks at the Rtdrs, which we'll discuss later in this cool snazzy report. But
TDOs.
hey,
Spoil
easy
it
with the
for 'em.
thunder there. Okay, we'll get it. Yes, TDOs, Tenancy Dispute Officers. I did not know which would make sense. They have an official title, and here we are, makeshifting names so we can be a little bit more astute on the show. Okay, let's get into this report. This was like, I found this week and I was like, how have I not known about this? This came out in September, and I'm just knowing it now, so I'm a little behind the times. But there's only been a couple hundred downloads, so I feel like we're still probably ahead of the times. So, you know what? Let's turn this into some trivia. Let's have some fun this show. I actually have
Prizes?
I do. I have a stack of these books from Robinson, when he came on our show, Robinson Smith. It's called Master Your Mortgage for Financial Freedom, the Smith Maneuver. It's a phenomenal method to turn your debt off of your primary residence that's non-tax deductible into tax deductible debt to have a bigger write-off at the end of the year. So I got a couple of these free books. Perhaps the folks that participate and answer some questions, we'll get some books out there for you guys. Also, I have a couple of premium memberships to the Now Front Lobby, so we can throw a couple of those out there too if folks want. So, an interesting. This was a cool read. As far as government issued publications go, I liked it. I'm probably weird.
We got to get you out more.
Yeah, I'm probably the only guy still on YouTube that has a YouTube channel completely dedicated to screening tenants because I think it's that cool. But hey, nonetheless, we've all come together in this miracle of Facebook groups, and we have something pretty cool going on. So let's talk about. So we're going to talk about the communities impacted and the percentage of applications by the location, the rental property location. So I'm going to give you guys, Chris. I guess this is really, we're just going to quiz Chris because he didn't do his homework 45 minutes before the show. And Chris, where do you think most of the applications came from, the biggest area? And I'll give you them in alphabetical order. There's Airdrie, Calgary, Edmonton, Fort McMurray, Grand Prairie, Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, Red Deer, and then all other locations. Out of those locations I just listed to you, Chris, what do you think was the most applications to the Rtdrs over 2019-20 and then 2021? They're like hockey seasons.
Edmonton. Edmonton's my guess.
We talked about this pre-break, didn't we?
Yep.
You greaseball. All right. Edmonton
I can't
was
believe you
the
can't.
worst.
That was only like 10 minutes ago.
I know. Okay.
Give me another one. Give me another one.
Okay. Hold on. Well, let's get Christine in here. Christine has not seen it. She is probably a better sample for answering questions. Yeah. So I'll say that right now. So Edmonton was the worst offender, represent 50% of all cases sent to Rtdrs in 2019, 2020. It dropped down to 42% in 2021. A fair guess, the next biggest city in Alberta would be Calgary. We're in about a quarter at 26%. How could I ask another quiz here? You know what? I can read the numbers. Airdrie came in at 1%. Calgary was 26%. Edmonton a whopping 50%. And I don't understand, like, why would there be so many in Edmonton, and why would it be double Calgary? For
It's advertised
Rtjs
more in
here?
Edmonton.
It's advertised more?
Yeah, it was. This is where they started it out, and as the pilot project is in Edmonton, and it got around much more.
Well, that would make sense because I'm just sitting there like I could not fathom or understand why there'd be double the cases in Edmonton versus Calgary. It just didn't make any sense to me. But
We have more astute landlords.
Well, that's true, and then that comes into another stat we might be talking about. So when was the Rtjs created? Oh, Trish is on. Trish and Christine. When was Rtjs created? What year did it come into play? Chris, do you know this answer?
And I think this is a trick question too, Don. We'll talk about this.
Yeah.
Art, you can answer too. I'm seeing you on there. I'll give you guys a few more moments here.
look it
I
up.
know I used to know this fact because I read a blog one time back in early 2012. And the only guy on the internet talking about Rtrs was this guy named Bill Bico. Don't know where he is now, but and have you got some
I heard
answers
he was
yet?
a cool dude.
I read the report. Well, you can't say that, Trish. You guys just throw a number out. That's an automatic wrong. I read the report and can't remember. All right, 2006. 2006, the Rtrs came into play. That's when we got it. But Bill Bico was arguing with me, even though I had hard evidence saying that it's 2009. What do you think is 2009?
That's when the
Bill Bico?
concept came out. It wasn't actually live for a couple of years. It took them a little while to actually get everything in place. And then they just did the 2 test markets. They started up in Edmonton. Then they added Calgary later.
Mhm.
And I think it was 2009 that we actually had it fully going here in Calgary.
Okay.
That
it's
was the
2000
first year I used it.
It was 2007, late 2007, when it became live really came live in Edmonton. They were on the 17th floor there of the, I can't remember which tower it was called, but Toronto Dominion Tower, I think. And that's where their first office was. It was quite chaos. I was in on the first month. I had heard about it, and I wanted to take part of it. And I was in there I think the first month that they were really started going. And it was quite chaos in there, but yeah, it's quite the deal.
Ooh, and Kathy's got some inside knowledge here. So Christine highlights a good point, probably for the rest of us all in Alberta. We didn't know it existed. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
And it wasn't operating in some of the other cities. It was really just Calgary, Edmonton, and Red Deer for ages.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then they started allowing it to be done by phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And then
when
that
it
was,
really took off more
Fort
in
McMurray
Grand
and stuff.
Prairie and Fort McMurray. Yeah.
Yeah. The phone's pretty cool. Okay. So what 2 pieces of legislation can we dispute through Rtdrs? Come on, someone's got to say this. And none of these are not for you guys. Do not say anything. Someone on chat here, come through, help me out. What are the 2? Well, you got to at least get one here.
Actually, to be fair, I didn't know about the new one that they just added last year.
True. But we talk about one all the time. We ask you to read it. It's your governing body, the legislation that we are governed by as landlords, as rental house providers, as a famous Don Campbell would put it. Folks, come on, help me out here. Yes, Trish, thank you. Someone's paying attention. RTA, Residential Tenancies Act. Yes. I did not know, and I learned this tonight by reading this report. Also, the Mobile Home Sites Tenancy Act, MHSTA, is also, you can dispute that through the Rtdrs, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I've had 4 cases in that area already.
You've done 4.
Yeah.
You've done like literally 10% of all the cases. There's,
I was reading that too, and I thought, that's pretty good.
there's only 40 applications since they added it. So you're like a big market share there. There you go.
Yeah. Lucky, I don't know, 1 or 2.
Christine made a couple other points here as well. She had to inform a lawyer that the Rtdrs was in Lethbridge now, which brings up another post that we had on the page earlier in the week or last week. Somebody was talking about what lawyer to hire for an eviction. And lawyers are, in my opinion, some of the worst people to hire for evictions because they know so little bit about it.
Yeah. We do not offer legal advice on this show.
Yeah.
Disclaimer. Continue, Bill.
So there's people like Don, there's people like Rob, there's other people that do this every day, all day. Most of these lawyers do this once a year or once every 4 years, and they're not familiar with some of the processes and some of the steps, and they're incredibly more expensive
and take longer, so they will charge you more.
Yeah.
More hours.
Can I dabble in this one? Can I dabble in this?
You can dabble.
So when I left policing, I decided to go to what my former co-workers would refer to us as the dark side, which was where I went and I defended traffic tickets. Or I like to more call it, they call it dark side because 25 years of writing tickets. Now I go and I fight tickets. Well, you know what? I don't actually fight them. Here's what I did. I'm actually manage people's situations, and that's kind of what we're doing. Don's doing and Rob's doing is you're managing people's situations. That's the best way to look at it. And because we become experts in it. Don does, Rob does, and I did it because of my knowledge as a police officer and knowing tickets. But when I get into the court, it was really a different world to defend against.
Yeah.
So when a lawyer doesn't practice that, they're writing mortgages or they're fighting criminal law or they're doing family law, they know that stuff and we will go to them. But when you know how to frame up a house, or you know how to drywall, or you know how to throw sod down or landscape a yard, you become an expert in what you do. So people come to you. And that's why when they say, well, we've got to go to a lawyer for this, you're going to a lawyer and you're paying them to study, not that they don't know what they're going to do, but $400 to $500 an hour, they still have to go in and learn this. When you're paying Rob and Don to go in and do this, they already know. So it's boom, boom, boom. They can give you a flat rate, off we go. And if there's some funny stuff that happens, you might get charged a little bit extra, but you're not 2 hours in and you're already overpaying what you would have paid Rob and Don, because Rob and Don understand it. They get calls from lawyers. How do we do that? There's a lawyer on our page, Josh Asp. He's learned lots. He watches us, and I've referred a few people there when it comes to dealing with trespassing issues and whatnot. Again, Josh will call me up. Hey, Chris, how do we do this stuff? What are we doing here? Because not everybody knows everything in the legal department, and our guys, Don and Rob and Mac and I have learned, and Bill's learned as we go. We're all eventually specialized in our little areas, and we can answer these questions. There you go.
Good. So what I heard, Chris, is you're telling me you wouldn't send a dentist in to operate in your heart. They're both doctors, right?
Well, I'd want them to study a little bit, but then I'd do their job.
Okay. I love it. I absolutely love it.
You got that right. They're specialties. Go ahead, Don.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have several lawyers that use me for their clientele that have houses and have problems. So, yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
if these lawyers,
right?
if these lawyers were very entrepreneurial, very smart, they would hire Don.
One of the courses they take.
Subcontract out to Don and bill their client $400 or $500 an hour, and $2,500 or $3,000 later, bill their client, and then just pay Don out his $1,000 for whatever it is, or whatever you charge for doing it, and they still made money on the side. But
big time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get back to this game show. I'm having fun here. We got to give away some stuff. Okay. So the Mobile Home Sites Tenancies Act came into effect that you could go through Rtdrs on June 1st, 2020. So let's talk about another fun fact here. I don't really understand these years. I think they're like hockey seasons. So that's how we're going to interpret the dates. In the 2019-2020 Rtrs season, how many applications were received? Folks, closest one without going over gets it. And we'll give you guys a few moments to plug those numbers into the thing. They also say, of course, filing with the Rtrs is far more cost effective than going through the courts. Don, what are the difference in filing fees between court and Rtrs?
It's $75 at the Rtrs. I think it starts at $100 at provincial, and it's about $2.25, I think, at Queen's Bench.
You're basically in the market. Yeah, 75 Rtrs, between $100 and $200 filing fee for provincial court, and then a $250 filing fee for Court of Queen's Bench. That's right. Okay, so we got one answer, Trish, and she's winning. So folks, come on. I saw
just like the Price is Right. Who's going 2801?
Yeah, come on, Zach. The Price is Right here.
Come on, let's repeat the question.
Okay. In the 2019-2020 Rtrs season, how many applications were received? Did you read this one, Chris? You guess. Don't look at the paper. You guess. You can participate. I'm not giving you the prize, but you can still play.
No, I don't want to.
Okay.
No,
Christine, 6. No. Okay, 11,000
before we started too.
11,130 applications went through Rtrs that season. The following year, 2021, was 10,973 applications. Typically, they say these will increase year over year, but because of due to COVID, unprecedentedly, the cases dropped the following year. Well, it is made illegal.
And this just in.
And Facebook user 233. So yeah, it's quite a bit, eh? Okay, let's continue on here. We're having some fun here. Information officers. No, I didn't put any notes on this page on applications. Hearing and scheduling format. I thought this was kind of interesting. How many cases do you think on average? Give me a range here that a hearing officer. A TDO, a tenancy dispute officer would hear in a day. So they can vary in length. Some cases, if they're obviously more complex, will be a longer hearing. But also, if it's cut and dry, non-payment of rent, they are quite short. So how many in an 8-hour workday, because I'm assuming that's what it is, that an individual tenancy dispute officer would see in a day?
I would say, am I allowed to play?
Yeah, play.
I didn't look this up. I say anywhere between 7 and 15.
Okay, 7:15. And Chris, let's put a name to a Facebook user. They've said 5. Cheryl's saying 10. Other Facebook users saying 12. Folks, the typical tenancy dispute officer conducts between 5 and 13 hearings a day. And then if there happens to be an unexpected absence from work, they work hard to absorb the other cases throughout the day. So I assume there's a little bit of a buffer built into that number, but I thought that was interesting.
In Edmonton, there's a record held by one of the TDOs. He did 24 in one day. And what they were, I'm going to say, is they were boardwalk.
Still talking.
I know.
They were actually had people in doing it, or a person kind of the representative was making a deal before each case, so they were doing like 5 in an hour, 8 in an hour, some of these cases. So they're 24 is the record anyway. So.
There you go.
And
well, I'm going to give everyone the right answer.
Since.
Everyone got the answer right. And someone's got the... Is that you, Don? I'm going to mute you, Don, if you do that again.
Somebody's trying to get home.
Evict somebody.
Someone's getting evicted right now, and they need Don, or they need an eviction. It's important. I've muted you, Don, so if you're talking, no one's listening, you need to unmute yourself. Okay. Average number of business days between filing and hearing of possession/termination applications. In the first year of this report, again, that's 2019-2020, there was 24. It dropped down to 11 the following year. And yeah, Don's muted again. Good. Average number of business days between filings and the hearings of other types of applications in the first. Is that you? Is that you, Chris?
No, it's Don. I've been sending him messages trying to tell him to turn his volume off on his phone, and I thought he'd cue in on it, but
you're just
thought maybe
I have a word for you, but we're gonna keep this PG, Chris. You cheeky bugger. So, anyways, the second part here, we're talking the average number of business days between filing and hearing of other types of applications. It went from 45 down to 36. And they said these numbers dropped because they hired a significant number of tenancy dispute officers. And I'm trying to pick up where I had that number. I didn't highlight it, so I don't see it. That's okay. We'll continue on. So I do appreciate our government is doing us a solid there by
40%
speeding up
increase.
How much?
40% increase in the number of TDOs over 2020.
Cool. Yeah. Wow. So they almost, not quite double. Double would be 100%. So yeah, that's still a pretty solid increase. So power to the government and looking after.
And the big thing was they streamlined the process with the online aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to get there. Oh,
okay. Sorry, I jumped ahead.
I know. Okay. Types of disputes. Folks, this one could be easy, could be a trick question. What was the number one most disputed item when people were going to Rtrs when they were filing?
Should be easy.
Yeah.
We already talked about it.
Yeah.
Hey. We're making this challenging. Not too challenging, though. So what was the number one reason people filed or went to Rtrs?
Come on, folks. Send it in. What is it? There we go. What's Art said.
We got one answer. Oh, Chris took it. You folks are right. Unpaid rent. Absolutely. That was the number one reason people filed. The other common disputes pertaining to allegations of interference with the rights of other tenants or landlords, interference with the peaceful enjoyment of the rental premises, inadequate notice, violations of the terms of the lease agreement, damages to the rental property was a little bit further down. I was kind of surprised. But, maybe it's most people are just going into financial trouble, which would make sense. Improper retention of the security deposit. And Chris, I know you're working on something on this, by the way, which I thought was interesting. Maybe we can go back to that. But
You want to touch on that? I have all the answers for that, so we can do that.
Cheryl had a really good question there too. I don't know if you want to turn that into part of the quiz.
Which one?
We will. I'll get there. And I was just gonna. The last reason was the rental premise not meeting minimum housing and health standards. Makes sense. So those are the most common types of disputes. Okay, where's the question? Okay, here we go. Cheryl, does it have the percentage? Yes, it does. I was. Let me find that because.
Does it break down the percentage? I've got the numbers here. But
I got the numbers. You know what, you guys, Chris, give me a little bit of that thing. So Chris has been working on about damage deposits, how we should maintain and hold them. So Chris, what have you been working on in the background here while I do some math?
Security deposits in the Rtdrs section part 4 says that it has to be kept at a trust account. So the issue is being that how does a sole proprietor or open up a trust account? The short answer is we can't. The longer answer to this is that's kind of like a Bill thing I'm learning. He says the short answer is you do influence me, Bill. Anyway, we can't. I've been talking to the banks. I've been talking to Service Alberta, and we can't seem to get trust accounts opened up for us. And part of the purpose of having a trust account is it protects your client's money from any garnishes you might have, any disputes you've had that, they can take money out of your account, any bankruptcies you maybe end up going through. So that money can be lost in those things, and a trust account will protect that. So I said to the Rtdrs, so how do I, as a sole proprietor, protect my client's interest? He says, you need to have the money in a separate account, and you need to make sure your affairs are in order so you don't lose the money. So that may mean that if something happens that you think you could get garnished or you're in a legal battle, you may want to pull the money and either put it into some kind of money order or something and set it aside, put it in a safety deposit box, or get it somewhere that it can't be touched because you are responsible for that. Now, with that said, she said, if you do lose that money and something does happen, yes, we will come after you, we will charge you. However, for actually not doing it, but just opening up a separate savings account and having it there, it's clearly marked as for your clients. She says, we will not prosecute you, we will not touch, nothing is going to happen. The tenants can complain, or, we've had questions on here where tenants says, you have to show me where you've got the money. No, you don't have to show anybody anything, okay? And the Service Alberta will not act on a complaint unless there's a problem. That's got to be a bona fide problem. Like, I lost my damage deposit because my landlord went bankrupt. Okay, that's a problem. They'll look into that. However, just to do it for the sake of going after you, it's not going to happen. They don't have the time, the energy, or the manpower to investigate where you have this money. So the short of it is now, like Bill says, put this in a separate account. That's what you need to do. And that is fine. It is contrary to the act. However, it's what the intent is to what you're doing with it, and that's what sets this up in a different way. If you are a corporation with rentals, that's a whole different ballgame again, because they can be set up. They can have their trust accounts they have to do those kind of things. But sole proprietors, mom and pop operations, we have to do things the best way we can in the most ethical way. And once you can show that, no judge will ever convict on that. It's not black and white. It's what your intentions are, and if you're going to steal from somebody. I will add in this part, we did have a show about a year ago where we had a trustee on here. And we explained that one of the tenants got listed as a creditor to the landlord because the landlord owed them money. And the landlord didn't have the money anymore. So what happens there is I'm suggesting that because exactly this, the landlord did this wrong, I said to the trustee, well, then they should be charged through Service Alberta, and that should survive the bankruptcy. She was in agreement with that because there is a violation of a provincial statute, and that should survive the bankruptcy, and he would still owe that money. But it's a long road. I think the best thing to do is if you're living there and you find out your landlord loses your damage deposit, don't pay your rent, and you may as well live there a month for free, and then you got at least part of your money back.
Well, and Chris, that's a great example of what the law says, black and white, and what's practical in reality, and how they're not always the same thing. So, okay, so let's get to Cheryl's question. So, what was the percentage of applications filed, tenants versus landlords? How should we do this? Should we just, you want to throw some numbers out there, folks? Should I give you an ABC? Well, let's ask the question first. Who do you think filed more often, tenants or landlords?
Landlords.
Okay. All right, Mr. Thunder Stealer. Yeah, that's right. And landlords, yeah. Landlords definitely filed more. So give me a guess on your percentage here. I did pull
twice as often, 3 times as often, 4 times as often, 10 times as often.
I can't do that math. What is that?
Come on, that's easy.
Yeah,
it's easy. It's 2/9 is what it is. 2 divided by 9. Tell me what that is.
All right. It's I also pulled out the 40 cases from the Mobile Homes Sites Act because so 90s get in there. 80-20 is the magic rule. If someone says 80% tier 2, 90, 80-20, 80 is in fact the magic number. It's actually 82% were followed by landlords, 18% were followed by tenants. And I can give you a further breakdown, which I thought was kind of interesting. Landlord application for possession was 7,940 cases, by far the majority. Landlord application for damages was 1,024. Tenant application for return of security deposit, 990. And tenant application for termination and other remedies, 979. So there's your breakdown.
So the big lesson out of that from the landlord for tenants is if the tenants deserve their security deposit back, give it back because they will go to court and they'll win it. Well, it looks like they're winning.
Well, they're applying anyway. They're applying anyway. You don't always win.
Yeah.
Yes,
I defend those things all the time. Yeah.
This is the application. Yeah. There's no results here.
Right.
So this page I found really interesting. The Tenancy Dispute Officer Authority page. And I'm not going to go, there's like a bunch of bullet points here. But one thing I didn't understand, so I've highlighted this, and perhaps I can pick on the collective wisdom of this community, is it has right here a TDO, which these are folks that do the hearings, can apparently enter rental premises or a mobile home site for the purpose of discharging their duties.
I've never heard of that being done. I read that as well, and I've never heard of one of them going out to a website, to a site, and take a look at it. Yeah, physically. I heard a long time ago that they do have that ability. One of the TDOs told me they have that ability, but I've never heard of one going out ever. They like to do their work in a nice warm or cool, depending on the time of year.
I don't even understand what that would. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, we mean discharge their duties. Can't they now serve and all this stuff? It's much more an efficient process.
Discharge their duties would be to physically see what they're talking, what one side is talking about.
Validate.
Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah.
Validate the stories.
Yeah, that doesn't happen at all. Like that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, nah, okay. Uh-oh, I didn't mix up my papers. I did. Oh, here we go. Okay. And Trish writes my favorite thing here. So all the times the tenants say they're going to sue and they don't. And if they're getting a lawyer, they're definitely not suing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The lawyer on retainer they have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your cousin.
I'll just put an analogy out there. You have a
Give her-
tenant that's not paying you, and they say, I'll get my lawyer to call you. Okay, you can't pay me your $1,000, but you can afford $1,000 lawyer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Lawyer doesn't start till $2,000. You give him $2,000 and then he'll talk to you.
Yeah, $4,000 to get
Okay.
$1,000, right? So, okay, I did skip some pages here. I'm not sure
Thank you.
if you guys had anything. There's a hearing process page. I don't know if there's anything we can come back to it if you have something that you want, Don. I saw you had a lot of highlights, so I appreciate your homework. You did your assignment. Good job. Hearing outcomes. This was kind of interesting.
You get
I only kind of I had one takeaway here. Let me just get to the point here. TDO will include those terms in an enforceable consent order issued under the TDO's name. What's a consent order? I don't know what that is.
Consent orders when both parties agree. A hearing wasn't held.
Oh, so this is like we're both about to go on the hearing on the phone, and we're actually given an opportunity to come to a mutual agreement before going back into the TDO's hearing.
Yeah, I've had cases where we agreed, the tenant and I agreed long before the hearing, and then at the hearing we put it into stone, the court order, and so I just told him we have an agreement, and he says okay, and he writes down what it is, and that's a consent order.
Do you, out of your experience, and this would be a good question for Robbo as well, do you find that the TDO will add or try to change what's agreed upon, or do they generally just take it down as verbatim?
As verbatim, 99% of the time. There's one TDO that occasionally muddles into it, but he hasn't done it for a long time either. I don't know if I had too many with him, but yeah, there's one. But as they have that right, they can question, the agreement, especially if they feel that it's one-sided. Maybe one side is taking advantage of the other side. The other side's not as.
They might provide guidance, perhaps.
Yeah, well, they may say that that's not a very good outcome for these reasons.
Yeah.
So
okay, cool. All right,
Here, I'm going to throw a question out from your staff that's just going to twist everybody up here. What is the average number of business days between filing and hearing for possession or termination applications? So from the day you file to the day you hear, what has been the average number of days? What do you guys think?
that's business days now. That's not calendar days.
Yeah.
Right.
That's important. I did read this, guys.
Potatoes. So start putting your answer.
It's not potatoes, potatoes. Two different things.
Yeah. Sweet potatoes.
No, that's good. Yeah, no, it's business days. While you folks are writing some numbers in there and your guesses, published decisions, starting. I thought this was really interesting. This explains why I thought I was not using Google properly and couldn't find anything, or the search engine. Rtdrs began publishing written reasons for decisions on that, and I don't know what this database is called. It's the legal database, I guess. It's a CAN-L2. Am I saying that right?
No.
CAN-L-I-I?
CanLee. It's CanLee.
Yeah.
Okay, in 2019. So in the 2019-2020 fiscal year, the service published just over 50 decisions and then published approximately the same number again the following year in the 2021 fiscal year. So there's about 100 cases or 50 cases each of those years, and we had 10,000, 11,000 applications. Only a small number. And Chris, why are we only seeing a small number of these cases being published?
Okay, so CanLee. Okay, go ahead, John.
I was going to say the TDO has to send it in, and I think there's only one or two that'll do that right now. That's the one of the cases. It's not an automatic thing. The TDO sends it in.
Okay.
Is that right, Chris?
So So CanLII is a place where they record precedent-setting decisions. So you have a situation, you say, well, this happened to me. So you go in and you punch in some keywords, and CanLII is where all the law decisions, across Canada, and they say what courts and what provinces and everything else, what level of court it was done at. And then you can go in, your keyword will take you to a case, and you read through the case, you say, yeah, that's what happened to me. Okay, fine. Then you read through it, and it tells what happened in the case, and it's all outlined in there. And if that's your scenario, that'll give you a good idea as to whether you have a winnable case or not. So if these guys are putting, only a few up, well, they're just getting started at it, and quite likely the ones they're putting up are a certain precedent that'll help you make a decision as to whether you should be filing. And that's good because that'll cut down on their workload a little bit. However, the average person trying to do this has no idea about CanLII unless you work in the legal system, and you're not going to go search for precedent-setting things. So.
Yeah, I just want to know, like, what does a basic default payment look like? So, okay, let's go back to your answers, Chris. We got some answers up here. Facebook user said 14. I'm sorry, I don't have your name here. Private rental property and management services owner says 45. Cheryl says 14, and Christine says 36.
Sandra said 14. It's 11 days, and it's almost hard to believe because we see, I just filed here on the 4th of January and wasn't getting a hearing until February 1st.
But that was the average.
Yeah.
And it was shorter for the first part of the year.
Yeah.
And it is business days. So
Yeah.
11 days is still 3 weeks, basically.
Well, 15 days would be 3 weeks for sure.
No, it's
14
2 weeks.
if there's a holiday in there.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. So
What's the busiest? What's the busiest time of year for? Who can tell me what would be the busiest month? Sorry, for the Rtdrs. Any ideas up there?
Okay, and Don, you'll be our golden source because you'll be our golden source on this. So, and define busy. Are we talking like number of cases or just the longest wait time to get your hearing?
No. What's the busiest month? The highest volume?
Of applications?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me reword it.
Applications.
Here, I'll reword it. What do you guys think's the busiest month for the Rtdrs?
If you add in Christmas vacation, I'm going to agree with Cheryl. December.
December? I'm just going to throw it out so we don't drag. It's March.
Oh no, Don's shaking his head.
March, December is usually the slowest because a lot of people don't want to do anything before Christmas.
Oh yeah. The 2 Januaries here.
And then in January they start filing, and then because it's so backlogged, the hearings in March.
Yeah. And then April.
What was the answer?
March is when it is.
Yeah.
March.
Yeah. I've had some of my busiest work in January. I've had cases come in between Christmas and New Year's, and then of course back then we had to go down and file. So I'd file a whole bunch on the first day in January that they were open, going to file 15 or 20 cases. But that's slowed down. January hasn't been as busy the last 2 or 3 years.
So Christine, get your case in there ASAP.
Yeah,
but do your paperwork right too, else you'll be repeating the whole cycle, which we can probably touch on too. Requests for exceptions. What are some reasons that you can get an exception? An exception would be to buy more time, or basically would be to extend more time on the hearing. What page are you on, Mac? 12. I'm on page 12. And that's basically the last one. Oh, and I'm going to talk about the red tape reduction too. That's pretty cool. Reasons for exceptions. So, improper notice was one. Yeah. Oh, so here you go. So the TDO may set aside or vary an order if the order was made without notice to one or more parties. If the order was made following a hearing at which the party did not appear because of an accident, I'm assuming that's medical, a mistake or insufficient notice, or I guess it could be clerical. maybe a clerical accident, they didn't get notified. A mistake or insufficient notice of the hearing, or on the grounds consistent with procedural fairness.
It can be a physical accident where two vehicles hit. I've had that in the past where we had to do a rehearing because they proved that there was a ticket for the accident they had. So on the way to the hearing.
I want to know in Dawn's database, this is a Dawn fact because I'm just going to quiz you, Dawn. Out of the work that you've done, what would be the percentage that get delayed?
Oh, I'm going to say maybe 2 or 3%. It's very seldom you get delayed.
Okay, interesting. Good to know.
Yeah,
so
and
if
what they're talking about, what they're talking about here though is after the court order has been scheduled or it's been given, and it's called back to do a rehearing. That's what they're talking about in this section. So
that's why I have you find folks on the show, because I'd be leaving everyone astray right now. Okay, good to know.
Yeah, so it's called an order for an order for a setback or set aside, and that's so they can rehear it. And I'm going to say that's same percentage. You get the odd one where they didn't show up for the hearing, and so we proceeded without them. And then they come back with a believable excuse or an excuse that the TDO would accept, and then we would have a rehearing.
Now, Don, just as a side question, would you say that we're seeing way less of the hearings being changed since we've gone online versus when they were in person?
Changed? No. I would say it's probably about the same. It'd probably be less. It might be a few less now with the telephone. There's less excuse for not being there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be
good to know.
Slight. It wouldn't be great. Yeah, it would be a great difference.
Okay, I've got these little blue tidbit facts are the good little nibbles. So I'll give you guys another one here. Enforcement of orders. Due to the limited public access to the courthouses as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, on April 1st, 2020, the Rtdrs began direct filing its orders by email to the Court of Queen's Bench. Between April 1st, 2020 and March 31st, 2021, so basically a year, 7,890 orders were direct filed by Rtdrs on behalf of applicants. What is the significance of this, Bill? Can you paint us before we invented the wheel to where we are now?
Before, after you got the orders, you had to run them down to the courthouses yourself. And it was a little inconvenient because they were not the same building here in Calgary. At least here you could take the LRT down to the courthouse, but then you'd have to go into the courthouse, and then you'd have to go up to I think it was the 8th floor. And then depending on what time of day you got there might only be 2 or 3 people in front of you, or 37.
Yeah.
And, when there was 2 or 3, it was great until you discovered that person at the front had a whole file section that was stacked high, and everybody was off for lunch, and you were still there for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's become a real time saver and really slims things down here.
Awesome. That's just fantastic. That's a good move by the government.
It's gotten quicker too. Oh. What's that, Bill?
My cat's walking across now.
Not just mine. Yeah, it's gotten a lot quicker. For a while there, it would take 2 or 3 days for it to go electronically there and then back to the Rtrs, and then the Rtrs will send it to us. And now I've been getting sometimes the same day, but usually the next day.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it saves a lot of time. So
appeals. If there's one thing that came out of the whole COVID thing is the whole streamlining of things with court, things with paperwork, and it's allowed us to try new things. The systems were forced to step outside their comfort zone and their box, and they had to adapt because nothing could be done. they're now doing a lot of court stuff. Lawyers are sitting at their desks and judges at their desks or wherever they're sitting. I haven't seen it actually. Then prisoners are sitting, or bad guys, if you will, are sitting in jail, and everybody's doing it on TV. So,
awesome.
Those are some good things that came out of COVID, I guess. And
totally.
And the other big thing is the serving of documents with email and text formats as well now.
But the Rtdrs, yeah, the Queen's Bench still hasn't allowed it as much. You have to ask permission still.
Yeah. But Don, with the Rtdrs, you first have to try to serve it personally or put it on the door. You can't just fire it off to them on email, correct?
No, you can, as long as you have some proof that you've precedents that you've already worked with them at email, and the best one, of course, is they pay by email transfer, and you need to have some email stuff in the package, so that validates you serving by email. And I still like, my personal preference is to serve by hand. But if there's people that are too far away or difficult
or dodgy,
yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying if you have in a sense of a precedence, if you have regular correspondence with your tenants through texting or email, and you can show that in your package, this is how I normally communicate, then you're saying fine. If you don't have that, you should still be going to the door.
Well, yeah, you need to. They need to know. I guess what they're looking for is that you've already have that link established, and this isn't something new. And it's not text; it's email. If you want to serve by text, you have to ask permission.
So I think. Let me put that in layman's terms, because I am the non-law enforcement person in the room of any. I've never even been in a court. The closest I've gotten is a parking ticket that I've emailed.
Amateur.
So, I know.
I was the guy that told you.
So essentially, if you can, and this is why we preach this all the time on the show and within the community and when we support each other, is follow up with any of your texts, your phone calls. It doesn't have to be all of them, but every once in a while, put something into email. Do an email here and there, and if you've got a track record and it's considered normal communication, or that's the way the primary way that you communicate with your tenant, and you have that track record. Now, what we're saying, because of this new change, you can go right there and file serve the tenant. Serve the tenant via email. That's a game changer right there. That's huge.
Yeah, let's open up.
I have a case tomorrow morning at 9:30, so I had to serve the package because I got an abatement. What do you call it, Don, when you move the hearing up for an emergency?
You got the
hearing.
Bill. You got the hearing moved up. That's what it was.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I got the hearing moved up. It got rescheduled. Well, because I applied for it from February 1st to tomorrow, but I had to serve them, and so I went over, served the package, and nobody was there. So I posted it on the doors, front and back, and did the affidavit of service up. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to go the extra mile. And I went back the next day. Bang, 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 here was somebody. So I served the third one personally upon one of the residents of the place. So I've got a double coverage, 2 different days. So, you always try to make yourself look the best you can when you go into the courtroom. You say, well, why would you do that? Because I wanted to ensure they knew today was an important day in their life, because tomorrow they're sleeping in a snowbank. So.
Yep, absolutely right. That's the best way you can do. And then that goes into other details. If you have do a inspection and there's different things you want to note, you tell them that there, and then when you go home, you send them an email saying, thanks for letting me in their house today, and I noted these things, and we agreed that you're going to have these things done by this date, and thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thank you, Mr.
Got proof. Yeah, exactly.
So we're just about done. We'll cover Christine because she's been so involved with us here tonight. She says, is serving by email allowed with the Rtdrs? We covered that, and just basically you have to prove it, that it's a normal thing. And then Christine says, I have a lease agreement that we can serve by email. Will that hold option as well? Again, yes and no. If your communications have shut down with the person and you can't show that you haven't had any communication with them, then no. The answer is no, it won't hold up. So it's important that you try to serve it personally.
Well,
or,
lease
have
agreement.
someone do it.
Yeah, lease agreement would be you would send it to them, they would sign it and send it back to you, and then you can do that. You can do that in contract law now too. So fax and email is now allowed.
So
I'm sorry, I misread that actually. I'm sorry.
I think you're
Thanks,
both.
Ron.
I think you're both on two different things here.
Yes, we are. And I thought she said, because I continued from one to the other, because she has it in her lease agreement that she can correspond. That's
right. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. I'm reading it.
And
wrong.
I think that's how I read it as well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so
Okay. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you have it in your lease agreement. It's with the RTA, and then of course.
And the precedent set.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have to prove, Christine, that you are using that means of communication. Just because you have it in your email means it's great that you have it. Sorry, you have it in your lease agreement. That's great. But if you can't prove that's how you normally talk, it won't hold any water. You'll still have to do it.
Send the occasional email for the furnace filter replacement. Do your spring inspection. Let them know. Say thank you over Christmas for paying on time, all that good stuff. And as long as they're saying yes to you, it's good. Then you've got the email correspondence. Christine, I was just telling Christine on the side here, we'll get her to hop in the virtual room after the show here. We'll have a chat and get me help her get sorted out with her upcoming hearing here. I got a couple more facts I want to read. We are at the hour, and then we can all do our quick wrap up. On the subject of appeals, and then I have a Rob Bonin fact. I'm pretty sure he's like the catalyst to this last fact. I'll talk about governance and complaints, but we'll get there first. So appeals. In the 2020-2021, fewer than 1% of all Rtdrs orders were the subject of an application for judicial review or appeal to the Court of Queen's Bench, and none were sent back to the Rtds by the court for a rehearing. So their word's the word, apparently. They don't make too many mistakes.
Oh, no.
That's cool.
I'm gonna get in on that. They don't send them back. If it goes into, did you say it went to QB? Is that what you said there?
Okay, all right. Quickly read it. Fewer than 1% of all hearings, orders from Rtrs were the subject of an application for judicial review or appeal to the Queen's Court of Bench, and none were sent back to Rtrs by the court for rehearing. So someone's challenged something from Rtrs, it's gone to Queen's Court Bench, and nothing's coming back. And fewer than 1% of all the cases were challenged.
In there, they have an internal review process. That's one thing. Then it can go up to Queen's Bench, and if Queen's Bench says no, that's not right, this is right, then they rule there, and it's just overruled and done. And then to send something back, that's a third twist in that. So they've just never got anything sent back because it's been dealt with. That's my take on that.
What you just told me, Chris, I didn't understand what I read. Okay, so governance. So this is an interesting one. 31 complaints about the Rtdrs or TDO, Tenancy Dispute Officer conduct, were filed with the administration in the fiscal year 2019-2020, and 73 were filed the following year. The significant increase in complaints in the following year is attributed primarily to the added stresses brought on by the COVID pandemic and the heightened consequences of an Rtdrs hearing for the parties. Yeah, that's interesting. Heightened
I'm not sure I would agree with that. I would think that Google it was the biggest contributor. People knew how to do it better, or knew how to do it, period.
So that there's more people.
Mac, that's talking about complaints against the hearing officers.
Yes. Correct. It's complaints against Rtdrs, so it's their governance section.
Yeah. Whether it's the RTOs or the process or whatever.
Well, some of the complaints come because somebody who knows something about the law or about the process procedurally, they get frustrated when they go into that because this is just a hearing. It's just an arbitrator basically. Although they have at the end they're binding, but sometimes the rules of laws and evidence are not the same in there. So I can say, well, I talked to this person and they said this. They'll listen to that. However, you go to any other court, that's hearsay. It's not admissible in court. And this is where some frustrations come in because someone who knows a little more or who practices more in regular court then goes to one of these hearings, makes them bananas because they get frustrated with the officers, and that will generate some complaints. And then sometimes the officers put in personal opinions and personal feelings where they got to stay impartial, and that generates a complaint.
It's a process with the Rtdrs. I'm going to say at least 80% of what's brought forward is hearsay. There isn't always a lot of actual fact.
Yeah. We're going to wind her up, Mac?
Yeah, let's wind her up. You know what? I'm good. We'll skip the last page. We'll save that nugget for the day. But that's basically the gist of it. So that was fun. You know,
Yeah.
I was excited to read an annual report from Rtdrs. I don't know about you guys, but hey, shoot it right up. So, yeah, folks, that's basically it. I've mentioned this in the at Christmas time there. I am starting a mastermind. I've got a few people already. So if you're interested in doing a mastermind, it's going to be a small group, no more than 5 or 6. It's peer driven. If you have goals you want to reach and push them further, I'm part of personally, I am part of a mastermind. I find it extremely beneficial, the accountability that comes with it. Not only that, and the ability to bounce ideas off your peer. It is landlord focused because it's part of this Alberta landlord community. So folks, keep that in mind. If you are interested, reach out to me, send me an email, give me a text, message me on Facebook, all that good stuff. I've got a couple folks already queued up, and once we get to that good number, we'll kick off our first mastermind. I'm going to vent slowly and quickly here. I got my insurance renewals for my rental properties this year. 42 and 26% increases.
Whoa.
Wow. I'd use other words, but we're PG today, so wow. So my one premium went from $2,020 to $2,900, and then the other one went up to from 1940 something up to just shy of 2,500. So I'm working on that. I'll keep people posted because that is ridiculous. It's like, no, I'm not auto renewing on those numbers. So give me something better. But yes, that was a hot topic last year too. I know the insurance industry right now, over the last couple of years, has been reeling from claims, and the premiums are now taking those increases. So, you know what? I will make that a goal of mine too in 2022 is to get a group rate for our community at large. I've talked about it before. I know it's been done in other special groups where if we have an educated body that performs better than the average Joe, we are a less at-risk population to insure, and therefore we can get preferred rates. There's a few folks I'm digging around. Hub International, there's a gentleman that's really well respected up in Edmonton, and then New Era Insurance. They're a partner on the page as well. They do really good stuff on the tenant side. I'm working with them as well to see if I can put something together for us. So keep that in mind. Yeah, my property management insurance went up from $2,400 last year to $3,600. Yeah, $1,000. Ugh. And then hail damage. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, people are on board with that. Yeah, okay, I will. I'll have something. My goal is it's going to take me a little while to go back and kind of negotiate it. But, you know, we do have a pretty good weight now at 3,600 members. So my public accountability goal, I'll have something by May, perhaps sooner if I can get something going. This year.
Okay.
2022. Oh, greasy. All right. Well, folks, I had some great guests on the show here. Always my partner. Yes, I have it right. This guy, Chris Noble. We're awesome. We love having this conversation. We always learn something new talking on this show. We can.
Who won the prizes?
Tricks.
Who won the prizes?
You guys
give
are
out the
keeping me
prizes.
accountable. All right. I'm going to go through the comments. I know I've given out some stuff to other people in the past year. Let me know if you've already gotten a book. I've got probably 6 or 7 things I can give out. I've got 1, 2, 3. I got 5 books left, and I probably have 4 premium memberships right now with Front Lobby. So let's kick off 2022 with a bang. I will message the folks that contributed more than a couple answers, and that should work. So perfect, gentlemen. Let's wrap it up here. Good show, hanging out overtime. We did 10 minutes in overtime here. So
Thank you.
yeah, thanks, Don. As always, I always appreciate it, Chris. Bill Bika, you're like my rent a host. You do great when you come out. It's awesome. So thank you.
Thanks for a little more notice today. That was almost 6 hours.
Holy cow, you're better than me.
Well, you know what?
I
I was like, you know what? I wasn't gonna do a show today, and then Chris is like, you know, we should do one. We should do one. We didn't do it last week, and I was like, okay, well, I'm like, and then I was like, well, I have this report about Rtjs. You want to talk about it? And he's like, well, it kind of sounds nerdy, but sure, you go ahead and do it. And now we have another great show. So thanks, Chris. You're like the little like the angel on my shoulder, keeping me going forward.
The good angel, right? Right.
The good angel, yeah.
The white one. Yeah, the angel white one.
Good night,
Not
everybody.
the red devil. Okay. Yeah, insurance is a challenging subject. It's not my favorite. So, all right.
Good night, John.
Folks, we're going to end this call, and we'll catch you guys next week. I haven't signed the paperwork. I'm getting it over to her tonight. She's asking for it. Brenda Bestel. She'll be on the show on a regular basis. Another experienced landlord out of Edmonton. Very excited to have her. Get some more Edmonton YAG representation up for you guys. So, yeah, we'll do it soon. See you guys next week on the Alberta Landlord Shoptalk show.
Perfect.
Bye, everybody.